What is JRPG 3.0? You may have recently seen some news articles and headlines containing phrases about JRPG 3.0, Persona, Metaphor, and Katsura Hashino. Well, it's all due to a talk at an event called G-Star 2025, with Hashino and his own works, as well as the future of JRPGs. This wasn't the main focus of the event, but it's beginning to turn heads because what does this mean?
Huh? Am I what?
If you've been around the JRPG space for a while, it's very likely you've heard of Hashino, at least peripherally. Katsura Hashino is the director of the modern Persona trilogy, aka Persona 3, 4, and 5. Other notable works include Catherine, Shin Megami Tensei 3, a slew of other Atlas titles, and of course his most recent work, critically acclaimed JRPG Metaphor ReFantasia. So his insight is worth paying attention to, and worth bringing up because he's a notable developer.
Believe it, or don't.
So what is JRPG 3.0? JRPG 3.0 is more of a concept more than anything. Now, my understanding of this comes from summaries of this talk, because I can't find it translated properly online, and I'm not really going to go with Google Translate because I feel like it cannot translate the full version of the text accurately all the time. Sometimes you get mistranslations because this is more complex than anything else. Also, I haven't read How to Make an RPG, which apparently is where Hashino talks more about this stuff, so this is just going to be my basic understanding. JRPG 3.0 is not something Hashino has invented, nor is it something really concrete. He mentions he thinks JRPGs are broken up into different eras, so to speak. The 1.0 era encompasses classic JRPGs. He doesn't really list specifics, but what you envision of the classics comes before the 2.0 era. If I were to make assumptions, then it'd be things like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. Now 2.0 is where he says that we are currently, and he says that 2.0 represents a improved responsiveness and quality, but 3.0 is the next step. Hashino wants to tackle creating JRPG 3.0 as his next challenge. His previous challenge being creating a fantasy, which I think he succeeded in with Metaphor ReFantasia.
You actually did see it coming, didn't you?
It's kind of hard to say. Like I've been saying, as far as I can tell, JRPG 3.0 does not have a clear direction. In a sense, it means as much as Ubisoft claiming that Skull and Bones is quadruple A instead of triple A. But I feel like Hashino has a lot more validity than a game that could not be cancelled due to it being funded by the Singapore government. Hashino is a visionary who has created works that continue to be called some of the greatest games of all time. You're free to disagree, but the influence that he has made on the RPG and JRPG genre is extensive. My own perspective is that this is more locking in on Hashino's games. Because he's the one who's come up with this concept, it's not something that is industry-wide that every JRPG developer believes in. Over the past 20 years, Hashino's RPG projects have focused on a formula. Persona 3 created this formula for modern Persona games, as they're called, which takes the game to a calendar system with a separation of combat and social elements. You have to make a choice on what to engage with on which day. Over the years between Persona 3, 4, and 5, this system has been refined based on a lot of player feedback and wishes of the developers. And what I see with Persona 5 now is a cleaned up and near perfected version of that formula. Persona 3 winds up being a bit more difficult to handle because in order to complete most of the content there are certain do's and don'ts regarding how you spend your time. I found that in Reload, I failed to complete 2 social links in my initial run because I chose to rush out and push away the one social link that I found really, really bad. But that wound up being a mistake given how availability of social links works in the game. Meanwhile, Persona 4 gives more leeway, but Golden has additional days for social links. And there is just a whole month you could lose if you do certain things. So Persona 5 takes a lot of the pressure off, and to some people that might not be a good thing, because they like the time management sim. I personally feel like being able to experience majority of content in one run is better, just because of how long these games are. Not everyone has 100 hours they're going to dedicate to the same game over and over, or 50 if you're skipping every single cutscene. But Yeah, for the most part, the primary content of social links is pretty easy to complete with time to spare. And Metaphor is another take on this formula that avoids the pressures of the time management sim. I think Metaphor also builds on the formula, but it's done in a way that is not to be the same as the Persona series, beyond the basis of it. But this whole thing is basically Hashino's JRPG 2.0. He's been doing this same thing for a very long time. And I do think that JRPGs have grown immensely over the past decade. But I think Hashino wants to do something a bit different. Maybe it's more inventive, or maybe it is just building on the existing formula in more intensive and creative ways. But he essentially has been refining this for 2 decades. So I wouldn't be surprised if his version of JRPG 3.0 is stepping away from this formula that he's used for 4 major games. But I'm not him. That might be what he wants, I don't know. This talk is otherwise just about the genre as a whole, and that he believes that JRPGs are going to essentially elevate another stage beyond what they are right now, which makes a lot of sense, actually.
What made that noise?
It was just the wind. Am I clear?
No. I think this conversation is tiring. I like them both, but I do not think the future of JRPGs needs to be one or the other. People really like to hyperfixate on this idea that certain game series need to stay in their own bubble or need to innovate out of their bubble. And neither of these are incorrect opinions, but that's not what any of this is about.
Hey, maybe someday someone will make
I don't know. But Hashino is not working on Persona 6, as far as we know. He is part of a subdivision of Atlus called Studio Zero. P Studio is the separate subdivision that works on the Persona series. This doesn't mean that Hashino can't be part of the project, but he no longer is working on the series as far as we know. JRPG 3.0, again, is not some industry-wide term. It's simply Hashino's perspective on the genre. It's a term he's using to essentially say that he wants to innovate on the genre more, and that's his challenge for the future. Persona 6 has probably been in development for a long while at this point, and nothing about Hashino's view will influence it, especially not now, unless Atlus wants to redo the whole damn game. But either way, again, this is not involving Hashino. What he believes as JRPG 3.0 is probably way off in the future.
Oh, for real?
It's a little nothing more than an interview being taken out of context. I think it's worth discussing, but as far as this goes, it's not a concrete concept or a full idea. It is just the view of how JRPGs are going to expand more and they're going to reach a new level of quality in the future. Again, I think it's worth hearing this out, but I can't find a reliable source that has translated this talk at all. So all we have is that he loosely talks about the phases JRPGs have gone through, and that he wants to create a JRPG that effectively is elevated above that. But otherwise, there's nothing concrete here. It really doesn't mean that much for the future. It's just a well-known developer basically saying that he thinks that we're going to reach a new phase of JRPGs, and he wants to be one of the people to usher in that new phase or reach that level that we can say, oh yeah, this is like the next level of JRPGs. But anyways, you guys can let me know what you think of this in the comments down below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Atlus, JRPG, and Persona related. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. You? You're born rich. Born rich.